the Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this November the 9th day. We're one day away from Veterans Day. Salute to all the veterans out there. A lot of guys I used to work with over the years during my security times, working as a supervisor, working security officer and whatnot. Work with a lot of vets, go to church with a good friend of mine I used to work with. So anyways, welcome to Sports Scope. We're supposed to have here in the next 15 minutes, Mike Westhoff is going to be on. We're going to talk about his book here, Figure It Out. And it's called My 32-Year Journey While Revolutionized Pro Football Special Team. Mike is... he's got some of the rules change in the NFL. This is a big time coach here and a heck of a journey. I mean, you guys aren't going to believe this. I've emailed his assistant, Denise. She said everything's going to be fine. I sent Mike an email about 4 hours ago with the link to the program. Now, supposed to be on around 7:15. He hasn't got back. If he don't, folks, I'm just going to, I'm the producer, writer, talent and everything on this program. I'll have to just email. Email the niece again to see if Mike to make sure he has got that email. But I got a feeling he's going to be okay. This guy is really diligent. Got a master's degree. He's a really good teacher. I've got a good quote from him in the. From Hard Knocks. I just got done watching Hard Knocks, by the way. Hard Knocks, they are in season right now. I recorded it on, I think it was on Wednesday, right? It was yesterday. And they have the Cardinals. Cliff Kingsbury, Kyler Murray there, his troubles. And I'll say this about Hard Knocks. These in season, I'm going to ask Mike, is this really a distraction? I couldn't imagine something like this being in season because I'll tell you what, it's starting to pick up this is the second time it's been. I want to say Hard Knocks been on for about 20 years, give or take. I want to say it's been on for about 20 years. And this is the second year that Hard Knocks has been in season. Okay. And we know that the Cardinals have got off to a bad start this year. And they play Seattle on Sunday. We talked about Seattle the other day. Seattle's in first place. And everybody's mic'd up. DeAndre Hopkins is saying, hey, man, didn't you see me? Didn't you see me? And Kyler Murray's walking to the sideline. He says, man, I'm going to get you the ball, man. I'm going to get you the ball. And remember that if you recap that game, now I'm watching a lot of games. I'm playing fantasy. I'm keeping up with scores from earlier. I'm watching a lot of this on Red Zone, but now I went back and watched it from the Hard Knocks perspective with the behind the scenes and the mic'd up part. And you can start to see the issue that I've been talking about with young quarterbacks and these big-time diva receivers. And we talked about this before on Detroit. When Calvin Johnson, he's not really a diva, but he's a big-time receiver. Fantasy starting to get really big around that time, and it's growing every year. And his numbers, Matt Stafford's numbers went up when Calvin Johnson did his early retirement. He was like 30 years old or something like that. So that's my thing about getting these big receivers. You really, I wouldn't say diva, but these really highly rated receivers. They were high draft picks. Or maybe they were low draft picks and they got big extensions and whatnot. And not all of them, but a lot of them are diva-like. They have massive egos. So he's like, hey, man, you got to get me the ball. And, of course, I want to say that he did score in that game. DeAndre Hopkins did score in that game. But when he says, I'm going to get you the ball, man, when Kyler says that to him, that goes to show you they feel pressured to get these guys the ball. That's why I'm not a big advocate of paying these guys big money and second contracts the air quote highest paid in the game. There's no receiver that's worth that. I don't care if he's a Randy Moss, Jerry Rice. There's no receiver that's worth that. Not unless you've got a really hard-nosed guy like a guy that Mike has worked with for a number of years, like a Dan Marino or Troy Aikman per se. Somebody like that, Elway, somebody big and imposing who is not going to be intimidated by the wide receiver. Will tell him to just run his routes, and he'll get him the ball. If it fits into the plan of the offense, he's not going to force him the ball, and that's that. Don't ask me again. That's how the true leaders do that. Now, some of these younger, less vocal quarterbacks, your Marcus Mariotas of the world, Kyler Murray. Now, I'll say this, that Eli Manning was not very vocal, but he had a way of dealing with these guys through his own style, but they did win a Super Bowl. But he was not very vocal. And Plexico Burress was a big personality. Jeremy Shockey was a big personality. Now, they got rid of Shockey. And Pickles. As soon as they got rid of Shockey, they went on and won a Super Bowl. So that's a thing. And you can see Kingsbury's like, hey, man, let's get it together. And he's dropping some F-bombs and all that. And you're starting to see this in real time that he is Kingsbury slowly losing this team. Now, that's just one episode. But I do think that he's on the hot seat. I think the reason for his extension, by the way, it's really good. By the way, Bidwell, I think his name's Michael Bidwell, the owner. This guy's also a pilot. He's flying from one coast to the. They show there's a camera inside his airplane, and he's flying back to Phoenix. He's the pilot. He's flying back to Phoenix to see the game, but you can start to see his frustration. But my point is, he gave Kingsbury that extension, so Kyler will be relaxed and more obligated to sign his extension because he thinks that Kyler works well in that offense. But I think if they flame out, which I think they will, if they flame out this year, I do think that he's one of those names that will get fired. I do think that Kingsbury will get fired now that we found out that Kyler could, and that was the original signings. Like, can you get a guy this short? But he's really athletic. He's got a lot of game experience. One of the most successful quarterbacks in the history of Texas high school football, but he's woefully undersized, And like Jim Jeffcoat said, he is a bit of a me guy. He's a bit of a me guy. He doesn't rub me the wrong way like a lot of other players have. I like his talent. I do think that they will eventually get another coach. They need a traditional running game. I think this guy is one of the least padded. And by the way, this stat's out there. He's one of the least padded down quarterbacks out there. His height is not an issue. We talked about that before where you got guys like Brock Osweiler, 6'5", 6'6". He's getting all kinds of balls patted down. But Murray's used to throwing upwards because of his height and trajectory. But yeah, I got a feeling they'll probably move to either a defensive coach and a really good quarterback coach, or they'll go with a more older pro style or a more pro experience veteran defensive offensive minded head coach. That's my guess for Arizona. But anyways, so Mike is supposed to be on here in the next few minutes. See if he's got my email. I haven't got nothing back yet, but either way, I gave him the 7:15 and it's 7:09 anyway. So okay. So, but he did coach for the Jets. He follows the Jets. He still does now. Now, Mike is Westhoff is retired. But I'll say this about the Jets. I started off Monday dogging out Buffalo Bills, but the Jets had to win that game. And this Sauce Gardner, it's between him and Aiden Hutchinson of Detroit is for Rookie of the Year. He has played way up to that fourth overall. He's not getting burned a lot, getting interceptions, got a natural nose for the ball. he's like a former Jet, like a Darrelle Revis. And maybe I can ask Mike about that. How do you compare him to a Darrelle Revis? Already, I think that you could put him in. He's a more of a taller cornerback. But the Jets, they're 6-3, despite the fact that Kyler Murray, another short guy, he looks short. But I think Zach Wilson's a bigger player. He's just a smaller frame guy. But Zach Wilson is 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, rating of 75. Despite his lack of play here, this team is 6-3, and they're a game out of first place. They turn around and trade for James Robertson. They're very aggressive there. Joe Douglas, this guy over in the Jets, this general manager, he is hitting them out of the park, left and right, taking advantage of those trades that they got for that Jamal. They're still getting dividends from that Jamal Adams trade with Seattle. Now, Seattle's got their act together, too. They're in first place as well. But this is one of the more, like Seattle, I actually thought probably 6 games would have been my over and under for the whole season. And, they're 6-3 now. They've got 8 more games to go. So that's the beauty of this. That is the beauty of this league, where you can go from worst to first, back to worst, back to first in just a year or so due to injuries, salary cap, high draft picks, and things can happen quickly. Unfortunately, when you do have unforeseen injuries, I do think that these owners get a little crazy and they fire. Sometimes these firings are a little premature. And sometimes players put in bad situations and coaches get in bad situations. Kind of like Matt Rule. I don't feel like he really got a clear group of guys, really got a quarterback to work with. It seems like they were pressing, kind of like Tepper. I think his name's Jeff Tepper, the owner there of Carolina. Kind of reminds me of Jim Irsay with the Colts, wanting to go with the guy that's already in the league instead of taking a chance and just trading up in the draft and getting somebody. They've got Baker Mayfield. They went through Sam Darnold. And P.J. Walker ends up winning the job. Now, I want to say Baker's back on tonight. And ESPN has wrote a story about him, Baker Mayfield, about how his rise to grace and then fall from just another quarterback and just at the age of 27. And I thought that was interesting. My thing about him is, Baker did go through a lot of coaches and a lot of dysfunction up there in Cleveland, but he also was very immature. He spoke about things he shouldn't, about trainers and all that in the public, very big ego. He put way too much work in those commercials. He never measured how fast he was. It seems like he simply didn't work as hard as I think he probably should have. And he thought he was faster than what he was. He was, and quite frankly, if you're that injured, you probably should tell the team, hey, look, I don't think I can make it here. He was making a lot of money. It would have been really hard for them to get rid of him, but he wanted to play through that injury. And I do blame the coaches and the trainers for leaving him out there last year. But before that, you look at that offensive line, you look at that running game, Baker, and a lot of people not defending Baker, him trying to call out guys like Duke Johnson and get involved in stuff like that. That is all out of his lane, out of bounds, breaking a lot of unwritten rules. And it comes to one word, maturity. Very immature. Plus, that goes back to, you want to go back to his college years. He's pulled over. He's got a police video, and he tries to outrun the police, but they catch him and handcuff. And the guy still wins the Heisman. He still becomes the number 1 overall pick. But, I understand the chip on his shoulder. The guy was a walk-on. I mean, it's a good story It's a good story. But once you make it, then you have to, the old adage is you have to prove yourself all over again. Okay. So let me send her another email, folks, and make sure that he has got everything. Can you tell Mike to check his email? Email for link. Link. All right. We'll see if she gets back. And obviously I'm watching the bottom of my screen to see if Mike checks his email, and we'll bring him on the program here. Okay. All right. So anyways, so that's my take on Mayfield. I think Mayfield will probably end up being a backup in this league. I don't even think he's really a bridge quarterback. Maybe if he works hard, maybe he'll mature late in life like a Geno Smith. But he's going to have to take a tremendous pay cut, eat some humble pie, realize he's not going to be the starter, earn his keep all over again. And that might, never mind. I sent the email, and there is Mike right there. Let me go ahead and bring on the legendary, I do mean legendary special teams coach, 32-year journey while revolutionized pro football special teams in this great book, folks. Figure it out. It's a thick book, but a good, easy read here. Let me bring on Mike Westhoff. Good morning. Good evening, Coach. How's it going tonight?
I'm doing fine. Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Is this all right? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, good.
Like I was saying earlier, I wanted to bring you on last month, but you end up getting hit by a hurricane.
We got hit.
How's things going down there?
If you could see the room that I'm in, you'd understand. I'm just in my office, but right now it's on the concrete floor, and part of the wall has been removed a little bit. So I had some damage in my home. Not a lot, but a little bit. Yeah. Outside, I had the pool cage crushed. I lost both of my cars. So.
Oh my God! Really?
I lost them both. Yeah. I live 8.5 miles from the water. Okay. And there was a 4-foot surge that came down my street.
Wow.
And I live 8.5 miles. So you can imagine what happened out there by the water. It's destroyed. I don't think, the media hasn't. I know they try. But you almost have to be here to realize what we went through. No power. I basically held the water out of my home by sitting in front of my double door when it was about 3 feet for about 2 hours at night in the dark. I held it, but I held it out of my house, and I saved my house. So my house is just almost going to be back to normal probably next week. I've got a guy helping me putting in a little bit of flooring that I had. Most of it was okay, but some was not good. But we went through a tough time. We really did.
Yeah. Now, so you said you stayed the whole storm?
Yes, I did.
Oh, wow. Did you have a generator?
No, I did not. That shows you how well prepared I am. So good thing I didn't prepare for football like I prepare for hurricanes. We kept. I know that my home will hold up. It held up to 150 mile an hour winds. I had no damage. I have shutters for every window. I have a new tile roof. Everything was great. And I never expected a surge to come 8.5 miles. I never in 100 years did I think it would be an issue, but it was. It was.
Well, it's supposed to hit in Tampa.
That's what everybody said. Tampa. Not me. I knew it was coming here. When I look at those projections, and no disrespect to any weatherman, but I hope they're all listening.
Yeah.
I look at the European model, because I'm going to tell you what, in my 20 years that I've lived down here, they're right every time. They're right every time. So I just, not that I'm being disrespectful, because I don't mean that, but they kept saying Fort Myers. So I was prepared, and I would have withstood it easily. But who expected a 4-foot surge, 8.5 miles from the water? I mean, no one. No one. I picked, when they drained my pool, they took out a 10-inch Gulf snapper out of my swimming pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, only in the Gulf. Now, I live on a lake, But they're not in the lake now. This one rode the Gulf of Mexico all the way to my house, 8.5 miles.
Man,
Yeah,
I
we
was
had.
living in Destin for
Oh yeah,
Opal back in '95. My dad
beautiful
and stuff,
area.
and we were living in a condo at the time with my stepmom. And I remember I was going to school down there, and it rained the whole week, right? So I go to bed, and I get this knock at the door, and I'm thinking it's my dad. He's waking me up, and I'm thinking I'm going to school. I'm thinking it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and he's waking me up. No, it's midnight, and he told me that my stepsister had called and said Opal was a Category 5 and heading our way. So we left in the middle of the night, went up to where did we go to? Alabama. Then we saw her people in Georgia. But when we came back, there was so much water damage, we had to move. It turned out to be a huge blessing in disguise. They got a nicer place closer to the ocean, believe it or not, and sold it and made a ton of money. But there was about 2 weeks there. I mean, we were scrambling. We were homeless. And my dad was in a really bad mood, and I just stayed out of his way, man.
Yeah, we had no power for quite some time.
Yeah.
I basically lived on my front porch. I cooked bowls of soup on my charcoal grill in the back,
Yeah.
and I took showers with a flashlight, and that's how I lived for about 10 weeks or 10 days, excuse me. And then the power came back, and then television stuff. Things started coming, and then it was a matter of just cleaning everything up and getting all the debris out of your yard. I mean, my swimming pool had about 3 feet of debris across it because just all the sticks and branches and oh my gosh, it was.
Jeez.
But we
So
survived.
it
And
was way
if
worse
you
than
saw-
people saying it.
Way,
It sounds like.
way worse. You can't even imagine. I mean, you go out by
Yeah.
Sanibel Island is where I spent a lot of my time.
Yeah.
I have a boat. Actually, my boat survived. I had my boat up in a big barn.
Go figure.
And it was fine. The bottom level got smacked and the marina got destroyed. But my
Yeah.
boat's fine. But I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait almost maybe till into December before I try to go out because it's just too dangerous. You could be going along, and you all of a sudden you could run over a sunken boat and you don't know it.
Oh,
So
man.
the Coast Guard wants us to really be careful and to not be out for a while until they get everything figured out. So
Yeah.
yeah,
You mentioned that in your book.
we got smacked, and I was right in the middle of it. So I was right there. I was on the front line. Believe me,
Front. Sound like you're in a war.
I was in a war. Trust me. But if you saw my home, I've been living here. It's fine. I have pretty much everything. It's being put back together little by little, and it's almost completed. So it's going to be absolutely great when it's done.
Yeah. So what made you want to write a book?
That's an interesting question. I love the process. I love the process of the whole business. I have tremendous respect for the National Football League. I like, how should I say it? Oh, okay. I'm going to step on some toes here a little bit.
Oh,
Okay,
go
so
ahead.
I'm
You
going
stepped on
to.
a bunch in this book. That's why I love it. You'll pull any punches.
I love the National Football League, and I have so much respect for it. I like how I got into it.
Yeah.
I like the fact I worked my way through the system. I'm not very fond of the move that the Indianapolis Colts just made.
Yeah.
And I have
Yeah.
the deepest respect for Jeff Saturday, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But to me, the way I look at it is I see a lot of people out there from all different varieties
Yeah.
that have earned that opportunity. And I frankly, to tell you the truth, I don't think he earned it. That's just how I feel, and I don't care if he likes it or not.
Yeah.
I just don't. I came out of the Miami Dolphins in 2000 after having probably 4 or 5 in a row of best special teams years that anyone ever had. 2000, we had the best year that probably anyone in NFL history ever had.
Nice.
And I didn't get the head coaching job.
Yeah.
And I was
Why don't
hurt. And that one hurt me. That
Yeah.
one bothered me because I was extremely well prepared. And I know some other times I fought some health issues with, I had bone cancer and I had to
Yeah.
go through some of those things. But back then I was really doing pretty well. I was recovered well, and I was really prepared. And you learn a lot when
Yeah.
you sit next to Don Shula for 15 years or so. You learn a little something. And I learned a lot. And then when Jimmy Johnson took over, I learned some things from him. Though, I sat in a position where I learned a lot. And at my particular job, I performed exceptionally well. I did. I don't care what anyone. I know I did.
Yeah.
We were good. Now, the game's changed so much now that this part of the game has drastically changed. But back then, whoa, come on, it was a ball. And I helped, as Roger Goodell said, Mike Westhoff changed the game. That's because he did. And so, but I don't get that opportunity. So I must admit, it bothers me a little bit that they decide to make a move like that. That's a little bit insulting, not only to me, of course, but to so many people that I see out there that have worked their way into the system. They deserve an opportunity, and they come along with this. So that bothers me a little bit. But to write the book,
I love job. Who would you like to have seen got that opportunity?
I honestly don't know. That's a good question. I'd like to see all of their assistants. I'd like to go through that. I think that's the thing you have to look at first. And to tell you the truth, no one jumps out at me. It would be unfair for me to answer that because I don't know them that well. I don't study them that well and those types of things. So if it's interim and you just want to get through the year, okay, maybe so. But there's so damn many good coaches out there that I think deserve a chance. And I'd love to see them get it. But for me, to go back to the original question, I know I went all over the place.
No, it's okay.
To write this book, I love the story. I love how I worked my way through the system. I became a special teams coach by accident. I didn't know. All of a sudden, okay, I'll do it. And then how it developed and how I changed it. And I developed philosophies. And I saw how it actually changed the game. And we were so good at it. And it was a part of course, back then, there were two interesting things when I got involved. One, there was very little innovation. And there was zero regulation. You could do anything. So I tried everything. I tried it all. And we got really good at it. We got good at it. And it gave guys a chance to carry on a career. If you read the book, you see what they said. The guys loved it. They loved the opportunity, what it did for them, what it did for our team. It helped us. I mean, I get accused of being arrogant, probably maybe because I'm cocky, but I'm not arrogant.
I know you mentioned that in the book too.
Yeah, they people like to give you crap. But I know when I was with the New York Jets, we were a good football team. We Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick, they know how to build a team now.
Yeah.
So I walked into, in 2001, a good football team. We were good. We had good personnel with Curtis Martin, Kevin Mawai.
Yeah.
They're in the Hall of Fame, excuse me. Vinny Testaverde, and you just go on and on and on. And so we were in the playoffs a lot, and we were good. But we don't get in the playoffs ever if we don't contribute in the fashion that we did in the kicking game, the special teams. We not that we won it or put us in, but we helped us get to where we got. And we did it every single year, and I'll stand firm on that. If we don't do the things we did, field position, touchdown, scoring, et cetera, block kicks, big plays, fakes, we don't go in. We don't go in. And
what is your proudest moment in game, Coach? Whether it's with the Dolphins, Jets, or even the Saints, what is your proudest moment where you said, I did that? My group won that big game for us. It wasn't any other group but my group.
I'll tell you what. I honest to goodness, I'll give you a proud moment, but I honestly never said I won it.
Or
now,
our group
I know,
won it.
Just or my group. I never said that. I said many times. I said on the other side of it though, if it didn't go right, I believed that I lost it. I never felt that I won it, but I believed I lost it. But I also knew, I did know this, that I contributed to where without that, I don't think we could have won. That made a big difference. Okay. Now, as far as proud moments, I'll give you one with the New York Jets, since we're talking about those guys a little bit. In 2000 and it was 2000 and let's see, 2011. Yeah, 2011. We had the 10-year anniversary of 9/11. Okay. We opened the season with the Dallas Cowboys. The place, it was the quintessential NFL game. It was a great game. The stadium was packed. Every celebrity was on the sidelines. If you could get a ticket, you came.
Yeah.
It was the greatest flyover ever. It was the most patriotic. President Bush flipped the coin.
Yeah.
The Secret Service were all over. I was so impressed with those guys. They had a big military presence. The game was a great game, and it came down toward the end, and we had a chance, and we blocked their punt for a touchdown that that I had
man.
drawn up. I had drawn that up about 6 years ago and saved it because I knew it could win in that situation, and it did. And Joe McKnight, which he never blocked a punt before or since in his life. Poor Joe, God bless, rest his soul.
Yeah.
He
That's
was
awful,
killed in
isn't
a
it? Yeah.
Joe was a great kid. I loved him. He was a good man, and never a violent person. That was a terrible road rage thing that he died or was killed in. But anyway, it was a great play, created an incredible moment, and that was something really special because it was a big night. It was a big game. We had just come off of we had been in the playoffs in the championship game, and this is the first game, and here we blocked this, and I knew we could do it, and we got them. So that was a euphoric moment for me. Euphoric.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you something about back in the day. I've read your book, okay, and I was going to do that, Jim. You know what? Okay, you mentioned Jimmy Johnson, okay, Wichita State, 1967.
Yeah.
Johnson is hired as a young coach there. Now, you're still a player, right?
Yeah, I'm playing. He's just out of college.
He's just out of college, and you're doing this
fourth quarter class.
Something about holding on to
stick wrestling.
Yeah, tell me the story about that.
We had what it was a guy named Boyd Converse was coaching at Kilgore Junior College, and they won a national championship. And his defensive coordinator was a guy named Larry Lacewell. And Larry Lacewell went on to some great prominence as the defensive coordinator with Barry Switzer at Oklahoma. And he's the master of those. And a very good coach. Larry was a brilliant coach. But anyway, they had put in this kind of Alabama ball. Alabama at the time had gone to kind of a small ball, fast. Everybody was fast. They lost weight. They were quick. Eventually that changed when they played Southern Cal and they got killed, and then they made some changes.
Yeah,
but
I remember that. Yeah.
We went through that because Lacewell had been a graduate assistant there. So we had this class. It was just workout conditioning. They were yelling and screaming at us all the time, competitive. Though you had these stations. And one of the stations was you get on a mat and you took a shovel handle. And two guys knelt down and faced each other and held the handle. Okay. And they blew a whistle, and you had 20 seconds to wrestle the handle off the other guy. Well, the first day when Larry Lacewell was explaining all the drills to everybody, we'd walk through as a group. This one, he picked me. I was pretty good size, and I used to lift weights and things. So he said,
before it was fashionable, right?
Pardon me?
Before it was fashionable to lift weights.
Before it was fashionable, yes, I did it all the time. You read the book, you'll see why.
I did,
well, you know why. You know why. Anyway, he said, "You get in there, kid." And he puts Jimmy in against me. And so, Jimmy's he had just got done playing, and he's a competitor, and he's fighting. But I was a little stronger than him. I could have taken it off him, and I was starting to beat him. And being a competitor, which he is, he fought back, and he threw an elbow and smacked me right in the face. And I hit him. I hit him. I punched him. And then it only lasted 2 seconds, and they broke it up, et cetera, et cetera. But that he was just a young coach, and I was a player, and so it was just one of those things. It was no big deal.
Yeah.
It was nothing.
So, and then years later, you said you don't think he should be a head coach or anything like that. Is this? Did you guys make up for that fight?
No, you're not talking about Jim. I wasn't about Jimmy Johnson.
Oh, okay.
It was about the next guy that took over after him.
Oh, okay.
I won't even mention his name because I can't. I can't stand him.
I thought that.
That was not Jimmy. Oh no, you read again. That's very clear. I thought Jimmy was a good coach. I thought he did a good job.
Oh, okay.
But after that, he got a guy that had been with him, and he kind of helped him. I really believed I should have gotten a job, and it went to a guy that. Give me a break. I don't even. You don't have enough time for me to tell you about that guy. So I'm not going to do it. I won't do it. Sorry.
I hear you. No, it's
okay.
Not.
I have no reference to Jimmy whatsoever. None. No,
Gotcha.
Jimmy was a good. By that time, Jimmy had kind of, he had one foot out the door, to tell you the truth. But Jimmy
Yeah.
Johnson was a good coach. He was a good football coach. He knew what he's doing. He knew what he's doing.
Oh,
Yeah,
what was
Jimmy
the
was,
guy?
and
I'll have to. Okay.
I enjoyed working for him. He was fun to work for. I
I'm
liked
glad
it.
I got that clarified because I was
Oh no,
thinking,
no,
man,
no,
you
no,
know,
no.
I thought it was because y'all had that fight back in '67
No. That never came up. We never mentioned that. Never.
because
That
you
was
worked
nothing.
under him with Miami, right?
No. I was at the Dolphins when he was at the Hurricanes.
Oh, okay.
Then he got the Dolphin job, remember? And then when he retired, then when he went to work for Fox. But I
Oh,
worked for him.
okay.
I worked for him. Let's see, I was 4 or 5 years from probably what 95 to 2000, somewhere around there, something like that.
Gotcha.
I was with
Gotcha.
him. Yeah. No,
Okay.
I learned it was good working for him. He was good. He was great to be a special teams coach for. He gave me a damn all-star team. I had a ball.
Yeah.
I used to
Yeah,
beat
I've
the heck
always
out of
liked. I'm
everybody.
going to try to get him on. He's got a book out called Swagger. Now he lives in Fort Myers too, right? Still?
No. Jimmy's on the other coast. He's in the Keys.
Oh,
He lives
okay.
in Alamorada. He's got a beautiful home. On matter of fact, the last hurricane a couple years ago beat him up pretty good. Beat him up. He
Oh,
had a
man.
tough time. But he's got a beautiful place. And Jimmy's a very, very good fisherman. He's got great big boats, and he's really good.
He's a
Yeah,
deep sea guy.
he goes way. I don't do what he does. I'm a closer to shore, but yeah, I only fish for sharks, so I like to fight. But Jimmy's way out. He's got a big giant boat, but he's good. He's very good, very good.
He's pretty bold, man. 79 years old out there doing that.
Yeah, yes, he is. He certainly is.
Let me ask you about that. Now, this is a very inspirational part for me. I'm a person of faith too. I like to turn this show more into like sports analogies and inspiration for life. And I love this story you tell in your book. You're at Dayton. You got 1 month left on your contract. Lee Corso, that's for my audience, that's the same guy, game day. He recommends you go to this coaches meeting and meet up with Earl Bruce from Iowa State.
That's
Okay. And then, the guy's in the hotel lobby, he sees an old friend, they drink for 4 hours. And
pretty close.
I'm just saying I'm just saying that, and the fact that you stayed there and the guy says, okay, come up here to the hotel. We're gonna finish up this. And then when you get up there, you can
in his room.
Yeah. And then he shuts the door in your face. Now, to me, that would be just what's going through your mind, because I know I would have been really discouraged and
Well, I
question.
mean, I'm a young coach.
Yeah.
With very little experience. I had a master's degree.
Yeah.
And I had coached, so I had a little bit of experience, but I'm just getting started. I didn't have much. I didn't have any money, so I needed a job, and I really believed I could get it. And so I had an interview, and then the interview just didn't transpire. He had been out, having a couple of drinks with a friend, and got to the room and said, I got to talk to people in my state, and he slammed the door right in my face. Okay, so I went and got my shorts, and I went out and I jogged along by the ocean. I went back to the hotel. I went up in the weight room, and I was working out, and there was a little tiny sauna. I walked over to the sauna, and I went in, and sitting in there all by himself was Frank Kush. He was the head coach at Arizona State. And I introduced myself to him, and he said, oh, I know you. I remember you as a player. Now, I'm not sure he did or not, but he was being kind, and he said that he did. So we talked a while, and he wanted to know what I was doing, and I told him the story. It got around to that. And he was pretty up. He was pretty. I won't talk about what he said, but he was pretty upset. He didn't have much good to say about Earl Bruce. And he told me, he said, look, I'm going to tell you what. He said, I don't have a job. We don't have any openings on our staff. He said, but I'm going to be in a position. I know who you are. And he said, someday I'll have a job. He said, I'll call you and interview you. He said, now I don't know if you're going to get it, but I promise you, the next time I have a job, I'll call you. Well, 6 years later, he got hired as the head coach at the Baltimore Colts. He called me, brought me up there, and gave me the job, got me in the NFL.
Yeah, and that's how life works, See,
well, and then I added the part, the part that you mentioned, sort of a little bit of a, I guess you could say religious thing maybe. I believe that there's a little bit of life after death, I hope.
Yeah.
And I kind of made a little bit of a humorous thing, but maybe I'd get up to heaven and someone might say, Mike, sometimes we let someone go back in their life, maybe relive a time where they made a mistake or something. They say, would you care for one of those times? And I'm going back in that hallway, and when he goes to close the door, I'm gonna beat the shit out of that little kid.
And you know something,
And
Coach?
that's exactly, and I could do it with my eyes closed. So,
Yeah. And
so,
you
so
know
what if?
something?
I don't care. I'm just that's how I felt.
Yeah.
And you know, if to me,
It
if you
was
don't
so
like it,
disrespectful.
if you don't like it, don't do it to someone.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that to somebody. So when someone did it to me, I wish I could. I wish I could go back to that time again. I couldn't. I'm standing just like, I don't. But anyway,
So you're thinking, forget the assault charge. You'll still feel good for that moment.
Yes,
It's a
sir.
euphoric moment.
100% correct. I'll take. I've been in enough trouble in my life. I'll figure it out. I'll be all right. I'll take care. But I don't think anybody would have. There can't be a judge around that would have thought I did the wrong thing.
Well, you know something, Coach. You mentioned, I wasn't even going to mention this in my questions, but I read it in your book, and we got a lot in common. You're a little bit older than my dad. You said you've been in about 30 fist fights.
When I was young, yeah. I grew up in a rough neighborhood.
Yeah, same here.
I used to keep track.
Say, you know something? I'm a small guy. I'm 5 foot nothing, 100 nothing. You've coached against the Titans. I'm out of Nashville. You coach for the Jets. Those housing projects there. I was born in that neighborhood. I lived in those projects, and I used to be. I get assaulted on a Tuesday for being white on a Tuesday. And my dad finally said, "Son, you're going to have to take up for yourself. They're going to do it every day. They're going to kick your butt every day." And I learned how to take up for myself. And I've been in, my numbers are like that. It was 10, 15 in one semester. And by the time I got to middle school, they said, well, you know what? He might not be the baddest, but man, he may embarrass the bully because he's going to punch the bully back and he may beat the bully. So I can totally relate to that.
We don't have any choice. I mean, I learned when I was young. I was not, I started school early, so I was always a year behind.
Yeah.
And I wasn't the biggest guy, so I was always trying to, and it happened to me, and I had a bad temper, and I'd fight back. And so, after I got beat up, I learned how to box. And my dad we were at a little basement, and he put a little punching bag. And actually, I can hit it better than Rocky. I can still hit it better than Rocky. I'm really good at it. I can. I have one in my garage. I'm really good at it. But so I learned, and I took my lumps. But I respect people, and I'd much rather that not happen. And so as I got older, I figured it out a little bit. And although it took me a long time, because that's all I knew. I didn't know anything else, and I didn't have much. And, but I figured it out. I knew that sports would be a way for me. I admired education. I was behind. I was not a good student, but then I caught up. And it took me a while, but I'm proud of that. And that's kind of what I wanted to write about. And I wanted to tell the story of a group of guys that were very similar to me in a lot of ways. They didn't have everything, but if we did it right, we could change the game in the National Football League. And that's what we did.
Yeah, and you said you've got the rule change about pushing players out of bounds so they can come back in bounds, which I think is totally awesome, by the way, and make the tackle because the field is much smaller in NFL than it is in the college game. So what do you think about how did that come about? Getting the rules changed.
The rule at that time. It really was on a punt. Where, on the punt, in the NFL, only the two people at the end of the line can release when the ball is snapped. Most of the time, they refer to them as gunners. Okay. We called them flyers. Coach Shula called them flyers, so we did. And then during a lot of times, you go out and you double them. Where the rule was that if you initiated contact in bounds, and you could sustain it out of bounds. Now, when you get out of bounds, as soon as you step out, you have to let them go. So what we did, I had a couple guys that were they were really tough. And they'd grab the guy and hang on to him and run him out of bounds and run him right over the bench, run him through players, throw him over the Gatorade table. We didn't care. And it wasn't like we were trying to hurt somebody, but we were just tough. I mean, these were tough guys. And they loved playing the game that way. Well, then the NFL said, wait a minute, Mike. You got to pull the plug on that one, buddy. So, they changed a lot of rules. A lot of stuff that I did. Kickoff returns, we had that trapping and all that kind of stuff. They changed a lot of that. So I got in it at the right time, and I got out of it at the right time. So I think I enjoyed the all-time best that special teams ever were and ever will be. There's no question in my mind. It's just changed now. Kickoffs are mostly touchbacks. You don't have as many plays. And I used the number in my book. My first 30 years in the National Football League, my first 30 years, not counting PATs or field goals, whether you kick them or defend them, not counting those plays.
Yeah.
I averaged 22 plays a game. 22. All right, when I went to the New Orleans Saints, 7. I went from 22 to 7.
Yeah.
Because I'm not counting a kickoff for a touchback. I mean, I'm 74. I can run down and cover one of those. It's just, it's so different. It's just different. And so, we had so many active plays.
Yeah.
And yet we had so little regulation. Though, I mean, we did everything. I tried it all. And I loved it. It was so much fun because every week you could be creative. I mean, I used to give out an 80-page game plan scouting report every week. 80 pages. Man. Now, say for you might only have 25 pages.
Oh, okay.
And this guy, you know what I'm getting at, but I had 10, 12 kickoff returns drawn up, 7, 8 different ways to cover kicks, different punt formations. We did it all. And I used to just hold up cards and show it to everybody. And we did it, and we did it, and we did it well. We did it well. And it was fun, and that's what I loved telling the story of.
So in 2017, you go to the Saints, and I noticed that's the first year, rookie year for Taysom Hill.
Correct.
Now, is your usage of Hill in special teams, did that keep him on the Saints?
Wait a minute. That's how they found him.
Oh, okay.
He never dressed a game till I saw him. He never dressed. He never played a play. I saw him in the locker room. Did they have
Teddy Bridgewater as a backup coach?
Well, back then, Teddy was the backup to Drew.
Because it's hard to have 3 quarterbacks in my point, so it was you.
But he wasn't. That's why he never dressed.
Gotcha.
He never dressed a game, and I saw him in the locker room. This guy looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
He cut out of granite, huh?
I said, who's this? So I went up to Sean Payton and told me all about him. And I said, I've had some luck in special teams with quarterbacks, having different roles. Jim Jensen, Brad Smith, Eric Smith, Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
That's the difference with this guy was tough. He'd knock your head off. So I said, well, let's take a look. Let me look. I talked to him, gave him a chance, looked at him in practice. I saw Sean after practice. He said, what do you think? I said, dress him. He's going to be way better than what you think. Way better. Oh, he's the best special teams player in the league.
Man.
The guy's tremendous. So that's the only thing he did when he started. But then he started doing everything so well that his role on offense started to multiply. They gave him some blocking. Then they gave him some receiving. Next thing you know, he's the hybrid player. That's the most versatile player in the National Football League. That's what he is.
Yeah, I played daily fantasy. I know that when you first retired, you thought it was crazy. People ask about fantasy when you go into sports radio, but my dad taught me, and he said, "Man, we always put a team together on FanDuel every week." And he said, "Let's put Taysom Hill in there." I was like, "What position is he this week?" And he's like, "Oh, he's tight end. He's like a double quarterback." And sure enough, it was that Seattle game. Did you see that a few weeks ago? He has a huge game against Seattle.
Huge game, huge. I watch him. I talk to him almost every week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm real close with him. I love him. He's a great kid. He was a great player, and I think he can do anything. He just can do it all. He can throw. He can run. He'll tackle. He'll hit you. He can block kicks. I mean, so I got a call from Sean Payton. I knew who he was, but I never met him. Yeah. I was working for ESPN and doing a television show in New York. And he said he wanted me to come to work. And I said, no, I don't want to do it. He kept talking to me and talked me into going down there. Though I walked in, and when I went there, they were ranked 31st in the NFL. When I left, we were first. So I'm pretty proud of that. We were good. I helped them, and it was a lot of fun. I love New Orleans. I love the whole experience there. Mickey Lomas is a brilliant general manager. Sean's a great coach. He'll be back next year. He'll be back.
Will he come back to the Saints, or is he going to be a free agent and they're going to have to do some trade?
I don't think he'll come back to the Saints. He'll be a free agent. He'll go somewhere. I've got my thoughts, but I'm not gonna divulge. I do not know.
Oh, I got you. Can I ask you a hypothetical?
Sure.
Okay, he's in Manhattan Beach. His Daughter's going to school in Southern Cal. Now he's got a son at TCU working as an assistant.
Right.
For whatever reason, if the Chargers, with that staff, Brandon Staley, if he gets fired for whatever reason, with Justin Herbert, Sean Payton calls and said, Coach, I'll give you the kind of deal plus if you come for 2 years to come to the LA Chargers to help me win a Super Bowl. What do you say?
Well, I don't know about 2 years.
Well,
they'll give him a real contract.
Well, give you a big contract, but
if that happens, and I don't know, of course, if it would, I would be shocked if he's not interested.
I'm saying, if he offered you the job to be the special teams guy there?
I'd only go with him for 1 year.
That's
Same
why I
deal.
said
He offered me that another. I can't go into when it was, but trust me, it was a pretty good deal. I'd go with him for a year. He likes me to go with him. When he asked me to go to kind of get things started,
yeah,
I'm good at getting teams how to practice properly. And they want to kill me, but they practice properly. Yeah. And I would take someone with me that would take it over. Guy used to work for me. I'd take him with me. He'd take it over in a year. I only want to do it for a year, but for a year, I'd go with him. I'd go. I won't do it more than a year. I'm done. I don't see the game changed so much.
Yeah,
it just changed too much for me. The stuff that I did is gone. But to go and help him and get it started with the respect I have for him, yes, I would consider doing that. Yes, but only a year. Then I'm done. Then I give it to somebody that takes it over and runs with it because I'm too old. But
yeah,
for a year,
I hear you.
For a year, I could have fun.
You said a year. I said 2, so that's about right. Okay.
For a year, I'd do it for 1. Yeah. I really like the guy. I think he's a hell of a coach, and he's the best. He's the best on the field teacher that I ever saw in my career.
Oh wow!
Best ever.
Better than Don Shula.
Better than Don.
Wow.
Now trust me, that doesn't mean he's a better coach than Don. I'll never say that. Don
Who's
was
the best coach you've ever worked with?
Don Shula's not even. He's first, nobody's second.
Oh wow!
Come on, he's the best coach that there ever was, in my opinion. He could do anything, and he was a great man, a very dignified. There's no cheating with Don Shula. He did everything right up front. He did everything above board. He's a first class gentleman, and we were a good team. We were good. He won with a lot of different types of teams, and I admired my time with them, and very much. I think I did a good job talking about it in the book. How much I loved and respected him.
So you never got irritated when during your briefing, if you wasn't done in 30 minutes or whatever, he'd walk out mid-sentence?
He was, I had every Wednesday, I had 45 minutes, and he was so businesslike because he had something else to do. So I mean, he's going, we're working. All of a sudden, he's going. He said, "All right, are you ready to go tomorrow?" I'll see you. He walked around. That's just Don. That's just him. That's the way he was. And
did he have a stop clock on or something?
No, he just, he had another meeting to go to, and he was busy. He had another coach to see, and he had a schedule. I loved my time with him. I had a great experience. He and I got along great. At first when you work for him, it's tough because he's so tough. But then as time went on, he liked me and he treated me great, and we became very close. So I loved my time with him, and we were damn good. I tell people, Don Shula asked me in my time with him 1,000,000 questions, of which not one was ever a question. He'd say, we'd go to dinner. He'd say, Mike, or we go to lunch. And he'd say, you like gumbo. In other words, Mike, order the damn gumbo. He said, Mike, you're gonna take that second bus back, right? In other words, Mike, he said, be on the second bus. He never said that to me. He'd always say, you're gonna take that second bus, right? And I knew he wanted me on a second bus, so I went. I just did what I was supposed to do. But I got along good, and he let me call things. He let me do it, and then when it would work, because he's a very humble person. I'd have a good game, and he'd walk by me after the game. He'd look at me sometime. He'd go, "That was pretty good, Mike." He just kept on going. But when he said that, he could make you swell this big. He knew how to do it. He was quite a. I
heard Vince Lombardi was like that. He never gave big compliments, but when he did, it's like, oh man, Vince Lombardi.
Don was a little bit like that. Yeah, Don was a little bit like that. But he was so bright, and he worked hard. He studied film. He worked hard on the field. He could coach any position. He could coach anything. Yeah. And he could teach it. Believe me, he could teach it. I talk in Sean in those ways because I thought the way he did it was so intricate that I'd be sitting at the game Sunday and I'd see Drew do something and I'd be thinking to myself, I saw that on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, just like that, and it would happen on Sunday. But that's what Sean did. Sean's good at it. You can get Sean. You want to have an offense, you get Sean Payton.
Man. Yeah, I would like to see him take that Charger job personally, but that's just me.
I'm never for, someone else has a job. We'll just see what happens.
Right.
Whatever it is, if you're looking for a coach, Sean Payton to be a good, you better get that guy if you can get him.
Yeah, I had to pay some money. Now,
whatever.
How ironic is it that now your dad sets all these records in Pittsburgh as a high school quarterback, right? Only to be beaten by Dan Marino.
That's correct.
How did that go? How did that conversation go when you later worked with Dan Marino?
My dad used to just laugh. He'd say, I remember we were playing golf. He was riding with Dan. He said, man, it was pretty easy to beat my records. So Dad loved it. Dad thought he was great. My father was a great big man, was a tremendous athlete, and just didn't want to. He had a full scholarship at the University of Miami. He had baseball contracts with the he had the Yankees and the Red Sox, and he just stayed home. He was just a Pittsburgh kid and played minor league ball and stuff like that. But he's the one with all the talent. But Dan actually beat his record. So my dad was pretty proud of the fact that he had done well when he did it. To have Dan Marino beat you, that's not much of a disgrace.
I mean, how ironic. And you go work with the guy years later. I mean, talk about divine intervention.
Yeah, Dan was,
both being from Pittsburgh, right?
You know what I said about Dan. I mean, I think he's I know.
You like him better than Brady?
I like him better than anybody. I mean, I know under the right circumstances, Dan Marino wins 10 Super Bowls. But, I think he's the best that ever played the position. I think he's the best. I love the way he played. And I think Brady's tremendous. Montana was tremendous. And I'm a fan of all those guys. But Dan just had something special. I mean, he played the game. You don't forget, he played banged up. He would get hit. He's right. He was tough as nails. And so, I just loved being a part of him and watching him work. And I talked about in my book, he had a sign in his locker. It said, I'm going to practice every day and play every play. And until he tore his Achilles in Cleveland, he never missed a practice or a play in a game. Never, ever. I used to read that sign to my young guys in training camp every single year I coached. I said, you want to know what greatness in the NFL is? And I had a sign, on a PowerPoint, and I'd put it up and I'd say, there it is right there, Dan Marino. I said, you want to be Dan Marino? Try doing that.
Yeah. What was it? Was it just a running game? Did y'all just didn't have the good and the pass
Our defense wasn't quite good enough.
Yeah.
We didn't stack up well enough on defense. We just didn't. And we weren't a great running team, but we could have won there. We just weren't good enough on defense.
Okay. Because I remember Jimmy Johnson said that Dan didn't want to be a running team when he came there. He said that was the problem. And I thought, wow, I never thought about it that way.
I never remember him saying that. And if he did, he shouldn't have. I'm just going to leave it go at that. I know Jimmy had a different philosophy. And not that his philosophy, I mean, come on, he had Troy Aikman. Those guys were great.
Yeah.
He won Super Bowls. He did a tremendous job. Yeah. But, this was different. And so I'm not going to be the least bit critical of it. Well, give me one more because then I'm going to have to run.
Yeah, I got you, Coach.
Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate you saying something about the book. You can get it on Amazon or at, you can get it almost anywhere. I'm proud of it.
Yes, guys, get the book. Figure out it's at the bottom of the screen. You can get it on Amazon, Target, Barnes and Noble, the places I checked online. I got mine from Amazon just a few days.
Yeah, Amazon will come right away for you.
Yeah. I appreciate you coming on the show. Now, what's your biggest regret and in your career, like a job you probably should have took, and your biggest deep breath where you think, I'm glad I didn't go there and take that job?
No, I don't have a professional move that I made or didn't make that I ever regret.
Okay.
I turned down a lot of jobs. I was very interested in trying to pursue going out to San Francisco.
Okay.
Bill Walsh had talked to me a little bit, and I think I would have loved that. But I wasn't going to leave Don Shula to go anywhere. I wasn't going to do it. And I'm glad I did not. I had chances. When Jimmy came, I could have gone several places. I'm glad I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And when I went to New York, I loved going to New York. I loved it. I loved every second of it. I was some of the 10 best years of my life, maybe. It was a great time. We were a great team. It was a lot of good things. So that I kind of, if I had to regret, I'd regret. I wish I would have had a chance to be a head coach. It didn't happen. I I don't have any bitterness. It's just sometimes we don't get everything we want in life. Sometimes we just don't get it. And
Yeah.
we have to figure it out and make the best of what we have. And I think I did that very thing. And so I like the way my career went. I'm proud of it. It was at a time when special teams were truly a 1/3 of the game. They're actually not today. I'd say
Yeah.
today they're about a 1/5 of the game. My opinion doesn't mean it's not as important, because it is. But
Yeah.
that's kind of how I feel. Well, listen, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to run if you don't mind.
Yeah, hey, we're already past the hour. I really appreciate you. Hopefully, you come back on the program sometime. I've got your email.
Get it? Just send it in. Denise will take care of it. We'll do it.
Thank you, sir. Hey, have a good luck with getting everything back squared away like it was before that
hanging.
hurricane.
I'm doing just fine. Thank you, and thanks for saying that.
Thank you. Have
Okay,
a good
good
one.
night.
Thank you, everybody. All right, now I'm back here. Figure out, got about Dan Marino. Guys, I want to thank you. If you like the show, share the show. Mike is a heck of this guy. He's the best time manager guest I've ever had on. I don't want to tell him that. Hopefully he'll get to watch the program and hear me say that. He's like Don Shula. I was at 59 minutes. He's like, one more question, I got to go. So that is just the kind of guy he really is, a perfectionist, one of the absolute best guests. I will be back on tomorrow, same time, same place. I have Bet Mad New Yorker on here. We'll talk about the upcoming games. There are some big ones coming up here. I want to say that, the Chargers got a big game. The Titans here, they're playing Denver. And what was that other? Oh, yeah, that's one. This game in Germany, for crying out loud. Seattle and Tampa. Vikings at the Bills. Will Josh Allen play? We'll get into all that tomorrow. I want to thank you guys. And again, we'll be back tomorrow. Same play, same time, same place here. Thank you, Pickles. Thank you, Corey, and all my listeners out there here on Sports Scope.